It has been a little quiet here on the channel lately, but now I'm finally back with a little exhibit build here from the Drylands. This zoo features two African areas, the savannas and the Sahara. When you want to go from one of the African areas to the other, you can either go through the African night house, which is not quite done yet, or you can take this tunnel. And the tunnel is what I'll be working on today. I have for a long time wanted to be able to include a few more exhibit species to the African sections of the zoo, but we really don't have a lot to choose from for this continent, especially when you want them to fit into the mostly desert themed concept of this park. I did end up reading a bit about the Goliath Beetles, and while you mostly associate them with rainforest-like biomes, they can in fact also be found in some savanna areas. And since one of the African areas focuses on savannas, I felt like that might just be good enough for me to include them. So I decided to dedicate this whole tunnel to them, by putting up two exhibit boxes. It is really nothing too complicated I'm building here today. This was a spontaneous build, so I didn't have much planned out beforehand. If you have seen me decorate exhibit boxes before, you'll know that I usually just fill up the boxes with as many animals as possible. I do this since I hide away a big part of the exhibit box, and by filling them up with beetles, there's a bigger chance some of them will spawn in the small part of the exhibit I end up keeping visible. Luckily, the Goliath Beetle seems to have a lot of spawning spots close to the glass, making it easier to cover up large chunks of the exhibit while still being able to see some animals in there. I've been reading a bit up on this species, and it doesn't really seem like there are any major issues with housing multiple adult specimens together. Even though I'm not too sure about it, I couldn't find any specific sources for it, but I've seen multiple pictures where they do it at least. So I'm kinda okay with being able to spot multiple of them inside of the exhibit, which for some species wouldn't have been the case. With this build I turned each box into two small terrariums, so we in total got 4 small enclosures for the Goliath Beetles. Maybe a bit overkill, but we don't have much else to work with here. And it would look too boring with just one exhibit in this long tunnel. To make it look like the front of these terrariums can be opened, so the keepers can get in there, I used some of these new string pieces. I believe they were part of the free update which came with the Zookeeper's Animal Pack. So you might not have noticed them since they just got added to the base game. Or maybe they were in fact part of the DLC, I'm actually not quite sure. But they are very useful pieces for small builds like these. I'm not going too much into details with what I'm doing today. I've done a lot of these more creative and realistic looking exhibit builds by now, and it is pretty much the same process, just for a different species. You can check out some of my earlier videos where I might talk a bit more about the ideas and techniques behind these kind of builds. So I'm keeping it somewhat simple today, just to not spend too much time on this video since I'm kind of trying to get back into a flow with my content. Since these boxes didn't really manage to fill out the tunnel, I decided to go back with the educational stuff for these beetles instead. So I put up two 4x4 meter signs next to the exhibits on each side of the tunnel. I made some designs with these off camera. One focuses on the larval state and breeding process of these beetles, implying it is something that is going on backstage, since there is quite a lot of work in maintaining these larvae. And the other sign is more some general information about the beetles. Now we can take a look at how it all turned out.